Hello and welcome into the WNK page here. I am George Herbig, Chief Forecaster for Weather Now, Kentucky. We do have obviously quite a bit to talk about here on this Easter night, which, by the way, today was pretty beautiful for most folks. There were a few rain showers up in northeastern Kentucky that caused a few issues. Some dropped some hail, but for the most part, Kentucky was pretty beautiful today. And as we know at this time of year, usually when we get beautiful weather, that typically leads to a strong weather threat. I'm gonna fix my camera here for this is bothering me. There we go. I think that's good. Let's check that. Perfect. There we go. That was bothering me. I'm kind of in a temporary setup right now. We've actually got some exciting news coming up here that I'm going to show you guys probably in the coming weeks. But we're in a temporary setup for now. But just know something's being worked on in the background here. It's going to be pretty exciting stuff. Of course, as you're coming in, please tap that share button at the bottom portion of your screen here, because again, we are covering a significant alert day that we did issue for the first time this year for Tuesday, as well as a potential alert day for Monday. Now, we did issue that alert day for Monday, but some model data is going back and forth on the threat for Monday, and I'll break that down for you. We'll break down Monday and Tuesday. We'll look at raw model data. We'll also look at the SPC's forecast. We'll look at our forecast that we made as well. Now, again, with this being 72 hours out and quite a complex setup, I'll save you all the time on the gibberish there, but it is truly a remarkable setup that we're looking at here. A lot of things will probably change over the next couple of days. However, the only thing that we really expect to change over the next couple of days is a little bit maybe on timing, exact modes of storms, and that's probably about it. The overall confidence in severe weather occurring is quite high for 3 days out. I will say that. I do also expect that the National Weather Services Storm Prediction Center will probably make some changes to their forecast tonight, including some upgrades for some folks in Kentucky. We'll break all that down for you. I want to give it about 15 more seconds before we go into that information. So while we're waiting, please tap the share button at the bottom portion of your screen. You're going to hear me say it a lot over the next couple of days, but that's because with an event like this, we want to make sure our messages are getting spread as much as possible, especially to your friends and family. The best way to do that, share the video on your newsfeed. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, share the link to someone that you want to send a text to. I'll say hi to everyone real quickly. Mr. JC, Confident, Karen, hello over there on YouTube. April, hello. Caitlin, hello over there. Kristen with 20 stars already. Thank you so much for your kindness there. I appreciate that. Thank you to everyone that's already sharing the video. We're already up to 30 shares. Thank you guys so much. When we get to about 40 is probably when I'll start. We got 200 people in here, so I'm sure that's not going to be an issue. Thank you guys a lot for your help with that. Again, more so helping us to spread our information around, because there's a lot of misinformation going around as well. So we want to make sure we're getting the accurate stuff out here. So thank you guys a lot with your help for that. Stacy, Corey, Judy, Jerry, Corey and Sean, I should say. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate that. Josh and Matt over there on YouTube. We are live on both YouTube and Facebook. So if you want to, I know it's kind of late. So if you're laying in bed, you got a smart TV in front of you, you got the YouTube app on there. You can just throw those up on your TV. I think it's at KYWX on YouTube is our at there. I think, don't quote me on that. All right. Let's get into the information here. I'm not going to keep you guys too long tonight. I know it's a late night. I wanted to go live and post information a lot sooner. But with everyone, or with all the models being kind of a little bit different, I wanted to wait till we got at least a little bit more consistency, and that did occur tonight. So that's why we felt comfortable putting our forecast. So we've actually had this forecast ready since around 8 a.m. this morning, but we actually wanted to wait until we got a little bit more consistency. Thankfully, it's going more toward the idea that we had. Caitlin, thank you for your 100 stars. She says, everyone follow, like, and share, please. Thank you for your help with that. I appreciate you. So let's go into the information here. Let's look at the threat map here. There is a 4 out of 5 risk already put out. Now, I will tell you that given some of the data that's coming in right now as we're talking, I could have made that 4 out of 5 risk. Quite honestly, I could have made it bigger. I went a little bit more conservative for now because there's still some doubts. This risk map is based on confidence levels at this time based on what we've seen. So the highest confidence is absolutely going to be north of the parkways toward Florence, Lexington, Elizabethtown, Louisville, Litchfield, and Danville. Moorhead, Somerset, Bowling Green, Madisonville, Hopkinsville, Owensboro just outside of that, and then Paducah just outside of that, and then Harlan and Pikeville. Not really expecting a whole lot for that area of Kentucky. Now, you'll get some thunder showers, but when it comes to severe weather, models are just not giving it to you. Now, I will say, I literally looked at a model right before I went live, maybe 3 minutes before I went live. It has unfortunately increased some of the chances. So a lot of these zones might actually already change by tomorrow morning. right now, I wouldn't really pay attention too much to the actual color that you're in or the number that you're in. You guys were just asking for it, so we tried to deliver some type of graphic for you guys to look at. Realistically, I kind of wanted to hold off until tomorrow morning, but there was a lot of demand for it. But this is kind of a more conservative approach at this time, which I know is kind of crazy to say because there's already a 4 out of 5 risk there, and it's already quite large. That just goes to show you the kind of event that we're dealing with here. Now, if you did not see the post that I made a couple of, about 25 minutes ago, you would have seen some things that I mentioned that we don't know just yet. And I'm going to go through the model data and actually show you that. So this is more of a video that's kind of, I wouldn't say relaxed, but more of just kind of a breakdown video so that we kind of notice the expectations going into it. We'll get to some of your questions toward the end of the video. I'm going to stay away from questions that are super specific, like what's going to happen in my exact zip code, what's going to happen in my exact zip code at this precise time, because again, timing is a bit obscured right now. So I'll stay away. I'm just going to let you know right now, I'm going to stay away from exact specific questions like what's happening in the backyard of my zip code at this address. I can't answer those tonight. I'm just going to give you that accurate expectation off the rip here. So let's go ahead and look at this model. This just came in right before we went live. Now, we did have an alert day out for Monday that might get pulled, and that's not a good thing. A lot of people are going to sit there and say, or are going to sit there and think that's a good thing. What we're wanting is actually, this is going to sound really weird, but with a setup that has this much energy and this much complexity to it, what we're actually wanting is multiple rounds. Because what happens when that occurs is each round takes a little bit out of the atmosphere. We're talking about 2 rounds instead of 4 rounds. Well, now those 2 rounds can be a little bit stronger rather than having to spread all the energy out to 4 different rounds. I hope that makes sense. So what we're rooting for is actually something to occur on Monday night. We're not actually rooting for it to go away. However, this model is telling us it might not happen. So this is the HRRR model. I will tell you that up until this run, right before we went live, this was the only model to kind of keep us at bay. Unfortunately, this model has trended more toward the more concerning looks. So let's go ahead and break this down for you here. So the whole thing that's kicking everything off here is the ample amount of moisture that's going to be in our atmosphere. By the way, real quickly, thank you to everyone that's liking and sharing, putting those hearts up there. I appreciate you guys a ton. Thank you for all the stars. I'll get to those here in just a moment. So if you went outside today, you notice it felt a smidge more muggy. Obviously, it was warmer as well with temperatures almost 80 degrees in some places. I think actually one place did get to 80. I'll have to look at what exactly that was. But you'll notice that it felt a little bit more muggy today. Well, when you walk outside tomorrow, it's going to feel significantly more muggy. The reason for that is we have Gulf moisture. It's being kicked all the way up here to Kentucky, and actually it's going to be going past us. So these are your dew points. If anyone knows anything about these, typically your more comfortable dew points are found below 55 degrees. When you go between 55 and 60, that's when it starts to feel a smidge muggy outside. Still not too bad, nothing oppressive or anything like that. But when you start going above 60, that's when you can start feeling it a little bit more. You walk outside, you can just be standing there and you'll start sweating. When you start going above 65, that's when it's like, oh my gosh, it's starting to get harder to breathe out here. So what I want to show you is these dew points that we're talking about. So this is right now. You can see dew points kind of hovering in the mid 50s. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better here. The numbers and whatnot that is. As you can see, it's nothing too crazy outside right now. Low to mid 50s for most places. Kind of the clouds helped us out with that a little bit today. But as we go ahead and go through the overnight into the morning hours, so this is actually valid for 8 a.m. tomorrow. 7 to 8 a.m. or 6 to 8 a.m. usually are coolest and driest times. It actually has dew points in the low to mid 60s at that time tomorrow. So you can kind of just go ahead and feel outside maybe what's to come. So as we head throughout the day on Monday, those dew points do nothing but grow. Now we're at lunchtime, a little bit after lunchtime, going into those peak hours in the afternoon. Dew points are approaching the mid 60s, some going closer to the upper 60s out there in western Kentucky. And as we head throughout Monday, it just continues to grow. Southeastern Kentucky, you're always lower on the dew point, so this is nothing abnormal out here. So for those places out in Harlan, Monticello, Pikeville, or just south of Pikeville, I should say, out here toward the southeastern portion of Kentucky, if you're wondering why am I lower, it's because you're higher up in the atmosphere. You're almost always lower in dew point. As we head throughout Monday night, you can see dew points still really rich out there, low to mid 60s. It's going to feel like a late June day tomorrow throughout Kentucky. And then as we head through Monday night, going into Tuesday morning, you can see even richer dew points move in. So this is one area of time frame of concern. Tuesday morning between 2 to 7 a.m. If you did read our post, this is one area of concern. The reason for that is look how rich the dew points are. Upper 60s out in western Kentucky, mid 60s still in central Kentucky. And those will actually get wiped down a little bit by the morning round, if there is a morning round. I want to put that out there, if there is a morning round, and I'll break that down for you. But as of now, it does look like there's going to be a morning round, and that actually wiped the dew points out for a minute, and then it just kicks right back up. I mean, we're going to the mid to upper 60s for most places. Elizabethtown by lunch on Tuesday, looking at a 67 for a dew point, 69 degrees out here more toward the Henderson area, and I always forget Morganfield. I think Morgantown. I can't remember. There's a Morganville, Morgantown, Madisonville, Madisontown, and it always gets me on which one's over there. I don't know why. But you can see throughout Tuesday, and then even a smidge of a spot here toward Owensboro hitting 70 on the dew point chart for Tuesday. So you can kind of see already the moisture really rich, and that's really the driver for this event that we're talking about. Temperatures won't be all too impressive. They'll be kind of what we've seen over the last few days here. Low to mid 70s, maybe an upper 70s here and there, but nothing too impressive. And then after the event, actually, well, you can kind of go ahead and see it. This model can't see it all the way. It only goes out 48 hours. But you can already look at the differences. So, for example, Bowling Green, 67 degrees. Effingham, Illinois, looking at 46 degrees, and that'll move our way. And this is actually a really strong cold front coming from the polar jet that's actually smacking into the Gulf moisture. So you have a really cold northerly jet stream smacking into a really warm and moist southerly jet stream. And that's kind of how you get things rolling. All right, now what I want to show you is kind of the overall look on the reflectivity here. Now, there's a bunch of more science to go into this. I'm going to try to put this in as much simple terms as possible for you guys, because I know even for myself, sometimes I can lose myself when I'm talking. So I want to try to put it as simple as possible. So again, we did have an alert day out for Monday. I'll show you if I go back to an older run of this same model. Okay, so this is an older run. It actually came in earlier this afternoon around 3 or 4 p.m. It actually showed a pretty concerning line of storms for northern Kentucky on Monday evening around 8 p.m., 6 to 8 p.m. Now, if I go to this new run, right, and we go to that same time frame of 7 to 8 p.m., there's not a whole lot there this time. Now it's more north, so the system is shifting north. What that tells us is that the southerly jet stream will win out in the beginning, which is not good news, because it'll only continue to kick more moisture up here for us. All right, so now it's kind of looking like almost nothing is going to occur on Monday. We might get a few stray showers here and there throughout the afternoon on Monday, but nothing absolutely crazy to really write home about. And then we start to see all this mess coming in Tuesday around 1 to 2 a.m. Now, this right here is a really conditional round. We don't know if this is going to hit. All right, and that's just the God's honest truth. I'm not going to sit there and lie to you about it. This round can either hit or miss. As of now, on all models, or most models except for one, I should say, a round of storms does hit Tuesday morning, and it is quite strong. If you can see here, you can see all these purple cores showing up. Those are significant, obviously, because those kind of show us where the heavier rainfall is, as well as a possible hail core or perhaps a rotating storm or two. We also see, as we go throughout the screen here, we see these brown circles, and when those pop up, it's the model trying now. It's not great at doing it, but it's the model trying to tell us where a storm is possibly rotating, right? So as I push this on through, you can see that marker actually goes all the way from western Kentucky. It shows up right here. It's very small, so you barely see it, but it's right here where my cursor is, and actually tracks on a line all the way through Elizabethtown, and then it's done. So that's this model. Now, again, don't freak out, because it doesn't do great with actually trying to predict rotation. That's where we come in. But this model is trying to tell us that a rotating storm is going to be on the ground for over 70 miles on Tuesday morning. Now, again, absolutely do not freak out. I'm just trying to break down the model for you guys so you guys understand. It's not great at depicting those things. But overall, it could be quite a severe round for Tuesday morning. In my opinion, on Tuesday morning, if we do recognize severe weather, it would likely be elevated severe weather. So it's a little bit different than the afternoon mode on Tuesday. The morning mode is elevated, I believe, and that is more indicative of perhaps large hail and damaging winds. You can still get a couple of tornadoes from that, but most of your energy is going to come from above the surface, which means, if you're ever seen a tornado, obviously it rides the ground. You need that storm to be on the ground in order for a tornado to spawn. If a storm is elevated, obviously it's further away from the ground. Tornadoes usually don't happen in that scenario. So for me, while I can't rule out a tornado threat, Tuesday morning at least looks to be more of a large hail damaging wind threat if storms actually do initiate. And that would likely be for western Kentucky from the Paducah areas up toward Henderson and then up toward the I-65 corridor, and then it kind of becomes a rain washout after that. And then we get a little bit of a break. And here's something interesting. So this is pretty new on this model run here. So I will tell you, this is probably the only model run, or the only model. So we have several models we look at, like several, okay? And I will tell you, this is the only model at this time to show a line of storms between 9 to 11 a.m. on Tuesday. This on other models is pretty clear. There might be a few rain showers, but this is pretty clear on other models. On this particular model, I can tell you that it's trying to show a long-lived supercell. What that is a supercell that's on the ground, I believe, for more than 45 or 25 miles. I have to check the actual rules on that. But a long-lived supercell, and everyone hears supercell and they immediately think tornado. A supercell can be, large hail, damaging winds. It can be intense lightning. It can be tornado, okay? What I want to show you is it's actually going to show this starting out here for Western Kentucky. We can see that brown circle again. And it's actually going to track all the way through the I-65 corridor and become a very large supercell as it enters, let's say, Breckinridge County to Grayson County, but Breckinridge County to Meade County, and over through Hardin County, and then through, let's say, Nelson County, going in toward Marion and Taylor County, and it keeps it on the ground all the way over to Pikeville. Now, I will tell you that a supercell being on the ground that long is actually quite rare, especially for 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, there is rich dew points. There is rich energy out there. So while I can't rule that out, I will tell you that it's the only model to show these two supercells between 9 to 11 a.m. So I'm not going to put 100% faith into that, but I wanted to show you that there's a chance for that on Tuesday morning after the first round, when we're supposed to be in our break time. The actual main line really doesn't get going until around 2 p.m. or so. You can see it gets really messy along the I-65 corridor. And now this doesn't look like much here, but when I click on the sounding, and don't pay attention to this word that's going to pop up over here. But when I look at this, I want to break down kind of what we look at here. So we look over here at our energy markers. We don't look at this. This is AI generated. Don't look at this. We look at the shape of this, and then we look at these wind vectors, and then we look at this energy box over here. I'm not going to break down every single thing to you, but what I want to point out to you, if you could, let me make sure you can see it real quickly. Okay, you can. Perfect. This bottom left box right here, this is kind of our energy markers, or our composite markers, I should say. A lot of people don't like to look at these because they can be a bit misleading. However, in this case, I think when you're dealing with multiple layers of the atmosphere being fueled with energy, I think a composite marker might actually be the greatest to look at. Or not the greatest, but a great thing to look at. You can see it really lights up. It really lights up. What I also want you to show you here is these are the layers of the atmosphere. So down here where you see SFC, this is the surface. And then as you go up, you're going up into the layers of the atmosphere, thousands and thousands, and when you start approaching the 500, 300, 200 markers over on the left side, you're talking about the tens of thousands of feet into the atmosphere. These are your wind markers here. They kind of show us the directions of the winds. Now, when you're talking about storms, they can have two things with them: unidirectional wind shear or directional wind shear. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but unidirectional wind shear is winds that are going in one direction. And directional wind shear are actually winds that are going in multiple directions. So the storm's moving one way, while the winds are actually moving another way. And those are typically how you get your supercells. Those are what we call crossing winds, right? So if we look at this, we have winds that are going one way in the upper layers of the atmosphere, and then they turn as they go to the surface. So we have let's say, south-southwest to north-northeast wind. And as we go a few feet up, or a few hundred feet up here, we have more of a southwest-northeast wind. Now, that doesn't sound anything dramatic, but that little shift is just enough to cause some rotating storms. And we're talking about surface cape. I know you guys have heard that word a lot. Being at 2,000, that's plenty of fuel. When you're talking about shear levels that are above 40, which is at 48 at this point, and this actually only goes up from here, that's plenty. Storm relative velocity, you want this number to be over 251 if you're looking for severe weather. At 281, it's obviously above that. So that's very simple. There's obviously way more things that we look at when it comes to determining strong storms and severe weather. But on the very simple layman terms scale here, everything that we look at is check marked. So that's why the confidence is actually pretty high when it comes to this event. So we'll push this on forward here. This only goes out 48 hours, so this is actually valid for 3 p.m. Eastern time. Still a messy setup, and then a little bit of a break, and then the actual main front comes in. This is the actual cold front itself. Just behind this line is the cold front itself, and this model stops at 48 hours. But this line right here could be a broken line of cells that feature discrete supercells that are going to be right moving. Now, what all that fancy mumbo jumbo means is this is a long line of storms here that might feature embedded supercells within it, capable of producing severe weather. And it doesn't just have to be tornadic, but I will tell you that at this point of the day, 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock, more of your energy is going to be focused more on the ground, which is why the tornado threat goes up. And I'm unfortunately talking about way up for Tuesday afternoon. Tuesday morning, looking at more of a large hail threat, damaging wind threat. Tuesday afternoon, it's more of a tornadic threat and damaging wind threat. So that's why we've been talking about this really heavily over the last 72 hours here on Weather Now Kentucky, because we've been looking at this, and both long-range models showed this. It was just a matter of if the short-range models were going to show it. I can show you the other model itself here. I do want to show you this actually to give you an idea or perspective of what it's showing. This is actually brand new. You can see you can't see it just yet, but I want to show you on the left side over here. You can actually see it's still trying to come in. So those boxes that are not blue on the left side over here, that's actually not done yet. So this is a brand new model coming in. I actually have not seen this either because we've been on live the whole time this is coming. So this is a North American 3K model. I can tell you that over the last 24 hours or so, this has been the most concerning model because it's showing the most serious conditions. So we're going to see if it looks like the HRR model that we just looked at here. So let's go through Monday morning, some rain showers, nothing really going on there. Monday afternoon, again, maybe some rain showers, even some mist. Not a whole lot going on there. It does show, maybe, let's go ahead and click on this real quick. Don't freak out if you see a tornado signature over here. Okay, so it doesn't even show any cape with this. So this is probably just a strong thunder shower at that point. And then it's out. The interesting note about this model. So remember at 2 a.m. on the HRR model that we just looked at, it had a full-fledged storm system pushing into western Kentucky, going through Kentucky at this point. On this model, it shows absolutely nothing, which is why you can understand now why I have almost no hair left, because two of our biggest models that we look at don't agree. So we at that point have to step in as human beings and forecasters and try to decipher which one is more correct so far. So let's go ahead and go through this a little bit here. It doesn't show anything for the morning hours. And again, this isn't a full run, so it hasn't gotten to the afternoon yet. What I want to look at with you while we're live here is just kind of see where that low pressure is real quick. So give me just 1 minute. Wow, it shows it way, way north. I'm actually going to click on this. I'm going to compare it to the old run, or the trend run. Look how much more north that went. So when we go back to the older run here, it shows a 995 low pressure in the middle of the border between Illinois and Indiana. On the new run, it kicks it way up to the northwest here, all the way up toward northern Illinois at that point. So this is going to be interesting run that comes in. So I'm actually not going to show you this because I have no idea what this is going to show. Just know that this model and the other models are not really agreeing. One final note that I have for you. And it's kind of a funny note. And this is not April Fool's, even though we are close to April Fool's. On the back side of this event, there's actually a small shot at, you guessed it, some snow showers on Thursday morning, Wednesday night going to Thursday morning. That's how absolutely complex this event is. We could realistically go from tornadic activity to perhaps a few snowflakes within 24 hours in Kentucky. So truly a remarkable event that we have coming up here, which is why we've been harping on it for the last 3 or 4 days. And now you can kind of see for yourself why we've been harping on it. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of your questions real quickly. If you're just not tuning in, I'm going to refrain from answering super specifics because you just saw it for yourself. The two main models we look at are completely different. So while we have a great general idea of what will happen throughout generally the state, we don't have the best idea just yet what's going to happen county by county and hour by hour. So I don't want to give you wrong information. Just know we'll post several updates on our Twitter, on our YouTube and on our Facebook. If you haven't already, please follow our Twitter. We get multiple alerts out to there because it doesn't clog the algorithm like it does on Facebook. So we actually get to push more posts and stuff out on Twitter than we can on Facebook. So at Weather Now Kentucky over there, or at Weather Now KY over there, if you want to go follow our Twitter, I would appreciate that. We always update that quite frankly more than we do on Facebook. Not because we want to, but because the algorithm works better over there. So, let's get to some of your stuff here. Real quick, I want to thank everyone. Maria with the 200 stars, thank you so much. John, my friend, with the 230 stars, thank you. Ashley with 100 stars. Lisa with 50 stars. And then we got the Caitlin one earlier. Thank you so much for your kindness as well. I appreciate you all. Before we get into your questions, I do have to pay some of the bills around here, and I promise I will answer your questions. But I want to give you a quick message from our sponsors. They give us the ability to be here for you guys all day, all night. So give them a quick listen for us if you wouldn't mind, and some support of them. You might find something you like. Thank you very much. We'll be right back. Right Implement, where quality meets affordability. I can attest personally to their tremendous customer service. With growing and mowing season here, think of Right Implement when deciding on where to make your next purchase and save on tons of equipment like these deals here. Thank you so much, Right Implement. The Romp Music Festival is more than just a music event. It's a celebration of community, culture, and the enduring legacy of bluegrass. With a stunning location, an unparalleled lineup, and a passionate audience, Romp 2024 is shaping up to be an unmissable experience for music lovers from near and far. Tickets are on sale now at rompfest.com. Digital Solutions out of Radcliffe, Kentucky wants to give back to the W&K community. So they're offering 10% off any seller repair with code W&K. Shop and repair your technology locally with Kayla and her team at Digital Solutions. And why don't we keep it local with Box Drop Barstown? Not only are their high quality mattresses already marked 30 to 80% off, but secure a free pillow with any purchase of a mattress using code W&K.
Yeah, I'm Steve with Greyhawk Roofing. Some things that make us different about Greyhawk Roofing. Number one, we're family owned and operated. We don't treat it as a transactional relationship. We treat it more like a long-term relationship. We're going to work for you so that we hope that you refer us to your friends and family, and we end up doing work for those people as well. Quality is big for us. We have a quality control representative on every job site, and that's actually my dad.
Mods, if you would, if you're in here, remind me after the video to see why Greyhawk's slot keeps getting cut off. I don't know what's going on with that video, but remind me please when we get done with this video to make sure and see what's going on with their stuff. On YouTube, Matt says, if the dew point is right about the air temperature, that's near 100% humidity, which is rain, right? Humidity doesn't always equal rain, but it does equal a moist environment. Tony says this, he feels like this is a tornado outbreak. I won't classify that as it just yet, but I definitely think it has the conditions to be a serious threat. Thank you, Ivy. The one by E-Type. I guess you're talking about this, Crystal. I think you're talking about the supercell that we saw on the model data. Now, model data is great at depicting the environment, but it's not great at depicting the exact tracks of things. Oftentimes, the actual storm is a little bit different when it comes to location than the model data showed. So absolutely it could move. I'm not going to guarantee that's going to move all the way up to Louisville, that one specific supercell, but we'll keep an eye on it for you. Elijah says, do you think your 4 out of 5 model will move for the Western Kentucky area? I will tell you this, guys. I don't think that this is set in stone at all. I do believe that by the time we get to Tuesday morning, even probably tomorrow night, I feel like this is going to change a few times. Now I'll try not to post it as much, but I do feel like our general consistency on things and placements and locations, guys, I do feel like it's going to change. I don't think this is absolutely 100% set in stone. So for anyone asking about if this is going to shift or if this map can change, it absolutely can and probably will a little bit. Now I think the general idea, the general zones are pretty good, but some minor changes can be made over the next 24 hours. How would you compare this one to the tornadoes back in 2021? Caitlin, that's a good question. It just depends on what system you're talking about. I don't know if you're talking about the March system that we had that was pretty notable, or obviously the December system that brought in the Mayfield tornado, which was a different system. The Mayfield one, December 10th of 2021, that one was an extremely unique event. It was a cold pool event with over 2,500 joules of CAPE, which I know kind of sounds, out of the world to some people that may not know what I'm talking about. But that was a pretty anomalous event. I would just say that I don't have a great comparison to this one, but this one might leave a mark of its own. If it's not in Kentucky, it will be somewhere near Kentucky. I think Ohio is going to have a great chance at some really strong weather. Southern Indiana could have a great chance at some really strong weather. Even down to northern portions of Middle Tennessee can have some really strong weather as well. So even if it's not in Kentucky verbatim, somewhere within our general region, it's going to leave its mark. I will say that. It's going to have its own spot. And I don't say that lightly. I know that scares some people, and I don't mean to scare people, but it's just a fact. This system is going to leave its mark on someone. Let's just hope it's not in Kentucky. What about Cap? Will this be in place as well? Elijah, the biggest reason we've had such confidence in this system, and I'll show you for yourself, the reason we've had such confidence in this system is that there's relatively no cap. So this is surface-based sin. It's called convective inhibition. This kind of shows where a cap might be. You can see a cap is kind of in place for now and then goes away. Actually, a really strong cap for Monday, which is probably why we're not seeing many storms. And then that goes away, and then it does try to build back in for Tuesday. And you'll see when those dew points get up and that shear gets over here, it's going to wipe it out, and it wipes it out. So there's not really a whole lot, and the reason for that is because there's so much wind speed happening above our heads. It's just going to rip that cap right off. So we don't really have any concerns on these storms not actually occurring, which is why confidence has been relatively high. Wind gusts with these storms, they could be anywhere from 60 to 70 mile per hour at times in some of the stronger cells. Trying to answer a question like that at this point is probably impossible, but just know the wind speeds are really kicking throughout this storm because the upper level, they're moving, they're rocketing. Ricky with the 20 stars, thank you so much. Talina with your 99 stars, thank you so much as well. Thank you to all the new followers over there on Facebook. I see some new subscribers on YouTube. Thank you a lot for that. I see all the hearts coming across the screen on both YouTube and Facebook as well. Thank you guys a lot. What was that question? Could this be like the winds of last March? No, we're not looking at a widespread. So last March, and then you've heard me say this a lot, but last March was an anomalous event. There's a reason that last March, I know you're talking about Loretta, you're talking about March 3rd, that absolute windbag machine of a system where we actually didn't even have storms. It was just windy all day. So that one set records, which tells us that it's a pretty anomalous event in its own. I don't think we're looking at, a straight wall of winds to knock down almost all of Kentucky again. That was an absolutely wild event. I don't think we're looking at that. We're looking at a different type of system. Katie says, that's your name. Katie says, with the new models, does that lower the tornado risk in central Kentucky? I don't think so, Katie. Jill says, is it too soon to know how fast the storm will move through? So the morning time frame, those will go a little bit slower. That afternoon time frame, storms will be rocketing through. We're talking about storms moving at a speed of 55 to 65 mile per hour, which, if you don't know, is quite fast for a storm cell to move. Usually they move at anywhere 30 to 45 mile per hour. We're still talking about going over 50 and 60. That it's moving. Basically, it's moving as fast as you do on an interstate at that point. So you're talking about a storm that's moving. Kara says, "Is this primarily all during the daytime hours?" We don't know just yet, but there is a chance at a round occurring in the very early morning hours of Tuesday between 2 to 7 a.m., and then another round possibly occurring in the late morning to early afternoon hours on Tuesday as well. So most of them will be throughout, when the sun is up, but there is a chance at some of them being before the sun comes up. Charles on YouTube says, "How's it going to compare to the macro burst that hit us here in Richmond last June?" Again, that's a different type of storm system. So I'm actually going to show you guys. I see a lot of you all asking. I think it's probably good to show you. Now, this is going to look wild. This is kind of the tip sheet that we use to determine storm modes. Okay, so just to show you, there's several dozens of storm modes. You can have mesocyclones, non-mesocyclones, microburst, macroburst, MCSs, supercells, discrete supercells, Boeing supercells, metal vortices, movement of MCLs. You got discrete versus linear. You got long track versus short track. So just so you guys know, when you're trying to compare systems, a lot of them are oftentimes different systems than what you might think they are. So that macro burst is a macro burst. What we're talking about for Tuesday is likely this one down here. So the morning storms will be discrete supercells that move. They're almost discrete right moving supercells, but I don't want to put them just like that just yet. And then that afternoon mode would be a straight splitting storm, and then it'll eventually turn into a linear storm. So we'll actually go through 3 or 4 different storm modes, but none of those will be macro burst. So just a heads up on that. Oh, I know. Richmond got slammed by that, but just know this is not a macro burst. We're talking about 3 or 4 different storm mode types that we're probably looking at for Tuesday, but none of them include macro burst. Jeffrey, it's too soon to tell, but I think it's solidly in that 3 out of 5 risk. Worse than the storms from Radcliffe like 2 weeks ago? I do think so. So those storms from Radcliffe 2 weeks ago barely had any energy to work with. We're talking about a storm system now that has an abundant level of energy to work with. Now, do I know if Radcliffe is specifically going to see a stronger cell than they saw 2 weeks ago? You don't know that just yet because it can happen anywhere. But just know there's way more energy at play. The severe threat supercell doesn't specifically mean tornado, correct? It signifies a high chance of all types of severe weather. So yes, actually, a supercell can carry large hail or a combination of things. It can carry large hail, damaging winds, or tornadic activity, or a combination. Right? So when you hear supercell, a lot of people automatically think of tornado. That's not necessarily the case. I do think that Tuesday morning, if we do get around to kickoff, that will be mainly a hail and wind threat. And Tuesday afternoon will be mainly a tornadic and wind threat, less on the hail. Okay, I think we're starting to get into the specific, very, very specific towns and stuff. I want to stay away from that on this video. Now, next video tomorrow and, throughout the day tomorrow, we'll get into very specific counties for you guys. But at this time, it's best to say very generic and broad because we're trying to break down specifics on specific counties and zip codes. It's not going to be a completely accurate answer because models are still having several disagreements. So I want to stay away from getting very specific on things with you guys. No need for apologies. No need for apologies. I just wanted to make sure that I'm very clear. It's not because I don't want to answer you guys. It's quite honestly would be irresponsible for me to answer specific counties and cities at this time, given the amount of discrepancies that we're seeing across model data. Any severe weather for Monday? We do have an alert day out for Monday for the chance at severe weather, but some of the new models that are coming in now are keeping Monday pretty clear. So we're not quite sure on that just yet because there is a kind of a stronger cap in place for Monday. The energy is there. It's just a matter of if storms are going to be able to break through the lid on the environment or not. So we're going to keep an eye on that for you guys as well. You'll be live Tuesday morning, correct? Yes, I'll be live for that entire duration of the Tuesday event. We'll be live tomorrow with an update. But for now, I'm going to get back to looking at the new data that's coming in. I will probably make another update post maybe in an hour if something changes. But until then, I will see you guys next time. I am George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with WNK. Stay safe, Kentucky.